This week in the field, finding the motivation to get outside with your camera. Hey everyone, I'm Scott Davenport. Welcome to In the Field. Thanks for joining me today. And today's topic is about motivation. And before I talk about it, I want to motivate you to join my mailing list. And there's a couple of reasons to do it. One is you can get immediate access to some free stuff. Presets if you're an On1 user, free textures, a couple of exclusive videos. Also, I have workshops coming up for 2018, and those are announced to my mailing list first. So if you're on the mailing list, you get the first shot at getting on the reserve list and signing up and coming and shooting with me in some pretty cool locations, I think, for 2018. So head on over to my website. You can click a link below the video. That'll take you right to the page where you can sign up. And hopefully you'll want to join me on continued photographic journeys as we go along here. So today's topic, motivation. How did this come about? I've been traveling, and after coming home, it took almost another 3 weeks for me to finally truly get outside with my camera, and went back to the San Diego shorelines, and it was great to finally get out there. But I just realized I had some trouble getting myself motivated to get out and do what I'll call a proper shoot. And so the little trick that I kind of used for myself is I put it out there publicly, and I had a couple of friends on Instagram as well as into a local Facebook group said, hey, I'm going here at this time to go shooting. Do you want to join me? And that kind of, put the stake in the ground. I don't want to let people down if they, if they come out and join me. And so I'll show you some of the footage here from the shoot. It turned out that I did end up shooting alone, but that's okay. I was able to get there, do my scouting of the area, and it turns out that the southern part of the beach wasn't looking so good. And I headed north where things looked a lot better.
All right, so this area is a lot more tighter. There's a lot less beach, a lot more interaction, stones, rocks, and waves. Thinking about this little patch of sand here, because that gives me a little bit of beachfront. Definitely means getting wet, not a problem for today. It's nice and warm. Because as I go down to the south, so there is just little to no beach. I'm gonna take a bit of a walk, double check things. But this area here is kind of looking like my spot. And once I'm set with that, I'm gonna go back to the car, grab all the gear, and come on down. So I found myself a little refuge from the water. There's a tiny bit of beach here, and that's protecting me from most of the tide. And so it's still a few waves that are hitting pretty hard. What I'm trying to figure out now is, you can kind of see behind me, so I got one that's gonna hit my feet now. But trying to figure out how I can compose to get these rocks in the scene, as well as the sun, or at least most of the sunset. And I'm having a little bit of a challenge with trying to get those leading lines going on. So that's what I'll spend the next 20 to 30 minutes figuring out and get ready for showtime. In the meantime, while I'm waiting for the sun to go down, I'm going to set up on these rocks here and kind of do just a few shots. This is some interesting shapes. It's not having color so much, but this could have some pretty good textures, swirls in the water, some good black and white potential too. I'm changing up one more time. I've actually come back to the other side of the rocks here. I'm going to use this triangular shape of the rocks here. Got some water that spills over this particular foreground rock, not at the moment, but it will as the waves crash through. And then just getting some nice sunset. It's really looking like it's going to hold up. Get a little good color in there. I'm liking this composition better. It's letting me get a little more of the golden light on the different rocks than where I was pinned over in that little area there. Worthwhile going over there, but not for the sunset shot. So now I got to get myself nestled in, set up, and do my best to stay dry. I'm gonna walk away pretty much dripping wet today. As I have a brief pause in the waves, I've got the lens cover on because I'm just protecting the salt spray for as long as I possibly can. I'm going to set up at f/16. I'm going to compose with this in the foreground. I'll probably be almost all the way out at 16 millimeter, maybe about 17 or 18. I will put the polarizer on the front of the lens because the sun is not quite at a 90-degree angle, but enough where I think the polarizer will both give me a little bit of glare protection as well as giving me a little bit of drag on the water. And so as the sun hits the horizon, I probably won't need another filter. So that's the plan, and as I get a few test shots in, if I'm able to safely, I'll grab a couple of shots from the back of the camera.
So by putting myself out there, so to speak, that got me over the hump, got me out with the camera, and I came away with some wonderful photos. And it reminded me of another outing I had before. That was like, I guess maybe mid-May or so. I'd hit up a buddy of mine on Instagram, Michael, saying, hey, I'm going to go out to shoot some nighttime skies in this area near the Salton Sea. You want to come with me? He ended up coming out. We had a good time. We ended up really kind of abandoning the Salton Sea and heading out even further to a place he knew in the sand dunes. But at the end of it all, he happened to mention, hey, I wouldn't have even gone out with my camera if you hadn't asked. And I think that might be true of a lot of us. And so if someone else seems to be like your photo circle, the person that says, hey, I'm going out, and you want to join them and you end up going out, great. Flip that around. That's kind of the tip of the week. Put yourself out there, kind of, use the energy of other people to get yourself out of your doors and with your camera and get out there. So give that a try. See if that works for you. That's going to do it for this week in the field. If you've got other ideas, tips, tricks, things you use to keep yourself motivated to go out and shoot, put them in the comments below or send me an email if you prefer to keep that private. I'd like to hear about that because that's something I think all photographers struggle with. And we can share stories and we can learn from each other of how to keep ourselves engaged and enjoying our passion for photography. Well, until next time, my name is Scott Davenport, and happy shooting.